Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be talking to you about the 6 culture shocks that I felt when I first moved to Norway from Asia. First culture shock I faced was free education. Norway has a long tradition of providing free education to all citizens and residents, and that includes international students. This includes both primary and secondary education, and of course also universities and colleges. There are also a few different types of educational institutions in Norway. There is private and also public, and although this is mainly for public schools, here in private schools, tuition is also significantly cheaper than other places such as the US, Canada, or the UK. And if you're an international student, irrespective of your nationality, so you could be from, say, China, India, Canada, you are all kind of on the same playing ground if you were to apply for the merit-based scholarships at private institutions. So even if you aren't going for a public institution that's completely free for international students, you could still have the opportunity to apply to a private institution and apply to merit scholarships. The culture shock I faced in Norway was that Norway is actually extremely diverse, or specifically within my experience in Oslo, it's a very diverse place. Oslo is actually the capital of Norway. It's home to a diverse population with people from many different cultural and ethnic backgrounds. According to the latest statistics from Statistics Norway, around 37% of the population of Oslo has an immigrant background. The largest immigrant population in Oslo are from Poland, Sweden, Somalia, followed by people from other European countries. So as someone with a Chinese background, I was actually shocked to see that not a lot of Chinese or ethnic Chinese Norwegians were kind of here in Oslo. Instead, I saw a lot of people with Thai and Vietnamese backgrounds, which was very interesting to see. Third culture shock I had living in Oslo, Norway was the VAT, or the value added tax. So having lived half of my life in the US, I'm no stranger to taxes. But I guess I was pretty shocked when I saw how much the VAT could be. Specifically, it could go all the way up to 25%. And I definitely felt that way when I first bought some furniture from IKEA. When I saw my receipt, it was almost 25%. VAT is collected at each stage of production and the distribution process of any purchases. Businesses that are registered for VAT are required to charge VAT on their sales and to pay VAT on their purchases. They're also required to file regular VAT returns with the Norwegian Tax Administration, which I believe is called the Skatteetaten. So basically it's also an indirect tax, but it's usually passed on to the customer. And honestly, VAT is a significant source of revenue for the Norwegian government, and it's actually used to fund a lot of public services, I believe, and public services in Norway, as you can imagine, is quite good. So that's where the bulk of the VAT goes to. Culture shock I felt in Norway is actually floor heating. So having lived in warmer places and as well as in places with 4 seasons, I never really had the chance to experience floor heating. It was just, I guess, not a thing when I was living in California or New York. But it's quite a thing here in Oslo, Norway, and in Norway in general, specifically underfloor heating in the bathroom, and sometimes in other areas of the house, such as the kitchen and the living room. Underfloor heating is a type of heating system that is installed beneath the floor, and it works by circulating warm water through a series of pipes. Overall, this is a super useful system, especially if you're in a very cold place, because it really makes a huge difference when you say step out of the shower. Usually you might feel instantly quite cold, but with floor heating and kind of when you close the door, everything's quite insulated, so you really don't feel cold at all, regardless of the outside temperature. Another culture shock I faced was the low level of humidity here in Norway. I expected the place to be extremely cold, and it is quite cold compared to Hong Kong where I was before, but I was not expecting the humidity to be quite as low. The humidity actually within my room specifically, when you turn on the heater starting from around December, is around 20% or lower, which is quite low for indoor temperature. And so I would assume a lot of people actually have humidifiers at home, which is kind of what I also purchased. Regardless, it's really nice when it snows outside. So despite the cold, I think it's really still really beautiful, and a lot of places you can go through via trains to different like landscapes in Oslo and beyond, and they look really, really beautiful. But if you do have sensitive skin, I think it's really important to keep in mind that humidity levels can be quite low. And the last culture shock that I had when moving to Oslo, Norway, is the drinking culture. Having come immediately from the east coast of the US and then to Hong Kong and now to Oslo, I guess I expected a more diverse kind of drinking culture. So I noticed that most people here do really love their beers, which I believe is also in line with other European countries. A lot of people love their beers in Europe, and I think that's really, really nice. Just grab a beer and chill. It seems to be quite the vibe here in Norway. I guess I just wasn't expecting drinking culture is extremely focused on beers versus potentially wine or other types of drinks or alcoholic beverages. And personally, I do think maybe this is because of the taxes and availability of other types of alcohol. So the sale of alcohol in Norway is quite restricted. It's not possible to buy alcohol at any time of day or night. Supermarkets and off-licensed places are usually open from 9 to 8 on weekdays. And this actually happened to me, but when I was trying to buy a beer when it was like 6:05, I couldn't buy it on a Saturday because once it hits 6, even if the supermarket is open, you're not allowed to buy alcohol. And if you want to buy alcohol with alcoholic content of 4.75 or more, you need to go to specific places called Vinmonopolet, I believe. But they're like specialized places where you can buy alcohol. And that's why I think a lot of Norwegians, when they travel home to say from Oslo to Bodø through the Oslo airport, usually people, when they come back, they bring a lot of alcohol because Oslo airport actually has, I think, one of the largest exit duty-free stores, because it's the duty-free store that you get when you exit before you kind of grab your luggage and head home. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know which culture shock also shocked you, or maybe which one didn't. Yeah, and please don't forget to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. If you have any questions about moving to Norway, please do follow me and give this video a thumbs up. See you!